information shared on Girl Pray On It is for educational and informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Although I am a licensed mental health counselor, I'm not your therapist. Unless, of course, you're one of my clients. In that case, I am your therapist, and I'll see you in our next session. Listening to this podcast does not create a therapeutic relationship between us. If you are experiencing emotional distress or a mental health crisis, please seek support from a licensed mental health provider in your area or contact a crisis line. Always pray on it, and also reach out when you need help.
But not to us.
Walaikum assalam.
Welcome.
Welcome to Girl
Pray on it.
Yes.
I'm so happy to be here today. My name is Ayesha Numan, and I am one of the co-hosts of Girl Pray on It. A little bit about me. I am a California native, born and raised, but we are in hot and sweaty and humid and muggy
Muy
New York.
caliente.
Yeah, New York City today. And my background is in education. I have been an educator for a little over 10 years now, and I also have a professional experience in diversity, equity, and inclusion work. And I am working towards opening my business, which is a clothing brand, modest clothing brand for plus size and tall women. So if you'd like to hear a little bit about that, you can check out our page and check out our personal profiles. Rebecca, tell us about you.
Yeah. Well, my name is Rebecca Leon. I am born and raised in New York. I'm sort of a New York or nowhere girl, so I'll be here forever. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I see all different kinds of people. I do individual counseling, I do couples counseling, I do premarital counseling with people of all different backgrounds, all different faiths, all different experiences, really walks of life. And that's something that I'm quite passionate about. And I guess a little bit about me is that I was born in a Jewish family. I was born and raised Jewish, and I converted to Islam when I was 17 years old. So I guess I'm coming to this podcast with experience working with all different kinds of people, but also being in a very multicultural family.
Nice.
And really understanding some of the issues that happen in family dynamics and how, challenging it can be working with families, working with parents and children and marriages. So that's what I come with.
Nice. I am a Black Muslim American. Both of my parents are converts, but I was born and raised into Islam, so I come with that background. And
Sure.
so let's figure out, what is this podcast about? Pray on it.
Sure, yes. Well, definitely a lifestyle podcast where we are going to talk about all the different issues that Muslim women are facing.
And particularly in the West, here in America.
Yes.
Because that's our context.
That is our context. And we're going to sip some tea and answer some questions. We're going to get to the nitty-gritty of what Muslim women face on a day-to-day basis. And maybe we're going to talk about some things that are hard to talk about and that people are maybe shy or embarrassed to talk about. Because I think these are things that are really important.
Yeah.
And we should be having conversations about them.
Yeah, totally. So today is every Muslim's favorite topic.
Yeah.
Marriage.
Love it.
Marriage. Everybody wants to know, how do I get married? How do I get it done?
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the loves of my life. I'm trying to find my nasib, right? But we need to figure out what happens before that.
Sure.
I think, right? Like, what's the process? What are we doing before we pick up the phone and we're calling the Rishta auntie and we're on the Facebooks trying to put our bio data onto the webs and we're hopping on Minder. Is Minder a thing anymore? I don't even know, right? Salams, In Pairs, all of the apps, right? Like, what is the process before we even start there, right? Let's talk about it.
I love this question. I think it's so important. And I think what it really comes down to, if I had to say it in the most succinct way possible, is you need to know yourself first. Yeah.
Know thyself.
Girl, you got to do some work. And what I mean by that is before you even think about finding a person, I think it's so important to know what it is that you want out of life. What are your goals from life? What are your values? What are your non-negotiables in terms of I'm not willing to compromise on these aspects, because surely there's things that we are willing to compromise on and certain things that we're not willing to compromise on.
Right.
And it's really important that we understand what those things are.
Yeah. What do you think the best way to figure out those things is? Go to therapy, journal? Like, what do you think? How are we doing that?
Yeah, I think it could be so many things. I mean, definitely therapy.
Go to therapy.
Go to therapy. Everyone.
Therapy.
And if
everybody,
everyone, and if somehow a man's has stumbled upon this podcast, please go to therapy as well. Yes. Yeah, therapy is the best way to truly understand yourself with the help of a, licensed professional who's going to help you get to those places of really understanding those elements. And of course, aside from that, there's work you can do on your own in terms of looking at kind of journal prompts related to these things. What are some prompts to get you to think about these things and really spend time with yourself, asking yourself these hard questions of, what do I want out of life? What is my life's goal? What are my priorities in finding a spouse?
Right. Yeah. And I think like the best way to kind of answer these questions is to live life itself before you add another person into your life. So have you gone to the job market? You found a job, you figured out what you like to do. You've lived a life where you're able to kind of reflect and think back about like, I didn't like this experience because of A, B, and C. I was able to say, like, I don't want these things from a partner because I've had these experiences, right? And I think that's going to help a lot of people figure out where they want to actually end up and who they want to end up with and what their relationship long term is going to look like with a partner.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. There's something to say about life experience. Absolutely. I think a question that maybe some listeners might be thinking is, well, what if I'm young and maybe I'm in my early 20s and I really want to get married?
Yeah. To that, I would say, wait. You have a whole life, right? And I mean, I get it. People don't like it's always better to be married than to commit zina, right? It's always going to be better to get married and, figure it out from there. That's a great, like, in the moment situation. But if you're trying to find the forever person and you're trying to be in a forever marriage, right? Slow down. I think, like, as Muslims, we're so speedy with the process that we want, you've met someone one day and then like 6 months later you're married, right? I personally would recommend going to a couples therapy after you've done your individual therapy and you've worked on yourself. You know who you are. You figured out your love languages. You figured out your communication style. Then once you've actually found the person, you've gone on the apps, you've asked the rishta aunties, you put your bio data on Facebook or whatever, then I think it's important for you to maybe go to couples therapy, and I would recommend 6 months. Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes from what I was told. So my older brother told me that he doesn't believe you know a person until you've known them for a year. You don't know. So,
yeah.
I mean, 6 months in therapy, right? Because you got to find someone and then you got to, go through the process of them getting to know you getting to know them. And then you start to actually unpack, like, what's going on and what do you want from a relationship as a couple. I think 6 months is a good amount of time. It might seem or feel like that's a long time, but I think that could help a lot of people either not get into marriages that they didn't want to be in or prepare themselves for a long-lasting marriage. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so my thoughts is that, premarital counseling, you don't need to tell me twice. Hit me up.
Yeah.
Hit me up. Come
She's
with me.
She's the one.
So totally agree on that. I would not have any prescription in terms of how long that's going to take. I think that every single case is so individual, so unique that I would never prescribe any sort of, time frame. And I think for every person it's different. And I also want to point out that when it comes to marriage, I also think that it's going to be also different from person to person. I think some people will be ready when they are in their early 20s, and maybe there's some people who are going to be ready in their 30s and maybe even their 40s. I don't think there's a particular age. I think it's when you've done the work and you feel that you are ready to really make a lifelong commitment to somebody where you will be upholding their rights.
Yeah. In Islam,
In Islam. And, you know, aside from that, the premarital counseling, I think, is really key to understand how are we going to resolve conflict? How are we going to communicate? And some people can have a couple of sessions and feel like we're ready. We've had these really important conversations, and some people, maybe they need more time. Maybe they need 6 months. Maybe they need a year. It's going to look different from everyone. But I think ultimately that aspect of premarital counseling is quite important, because maybe there's things that you've never thought about before. And now there's a third party in the room. There's a licensed mental health counselor that's getting you to think about these really hard questions. And that is what's going to kind of help you get to a place where you're understanding whether or not we really are compatible.
Yeah, that's important. Do you need to be in love with someone before you marry them? Or is it enough to just have like shared values and a shared vision?
You know, if you were to ask me this question when I was a teenager, my answer would be so different.
With everybody's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Than it is now. When you're young, you're a hopeless romantic and you feel that you've met someone, you fall in love. That's everything. And when I was 15 years old, something really stuck in my head that my friend's mom said. And for the life of me, I don't remember the context. But she said to me, love is not enough to make a marriage work.
Oh, isn't that true?
Yeah. And I was just like, excuse me? What? Hopeless romantic over here. Love is everything. What is more important than love? And I think now that I'm sort of coming from a lot more lived experience, but also seeing so many couples go through this experience as well, I think that is very, very true.
Yeah.
I think, of course, love in marriage is essential. I'm not saying love is not important.
Right.
However, I think that I understand a little bit more the perspective of someone coming from an arranged marriage where you've been set up with another person, because I think what is really, love is not the only thing that's going to make a marriage work, but you know what could make a marriage work is having the same values, having the same goals, understanding those non-negotiables that we talked about before.
Right.
I think what is more important than being in love coming into a marriage is knowing that we're compatible, knowing that we want the same things out of life, knowing that we don't need to make compromises in life. Of course, everyone's going to fight in their marriage and make compromises at some point, but not compromises that breed resentment.
Yeah.
I think anyone can fall in love with anyone. I think that when you have decided that we share the same goals and the same values, and we've decided that our lives are going to improve together, you can fall in love. You're attracted to that person, you have the same values, you can fall in love. You will fall in love. Love is going to grow. Love grows with time, with respect, with trust. Love grows. And when you're basing a marriage solely off of that passionate, fiery, butterfly feeling, that is quite problematic in terms of what happens when we just want two very different things out of life. Now it's quite painful. Now either we have to break up, or now we have to sacrifice the things that we wanted from life.
Yeah, that's true. And I'll also say, like, being very realistic when you get into a marriage is super important, because it's very common for couples to fall in and out of love constantly. Like, it's going to happen, right? You might be in love with that person for like the first 10 years, but then something happens and you're no longer in love, in that puppy love or in that infatuation love, right? and learning how to still work in marriage despite not being in love and working through that period is super important, but also the communication is super important, right?
Yeah.
Being able to communicate with one another. And so if you are not in a space where you can effectively communicate with one another, especially when you don't love each other or you don't even maybe like each other at times, that's going to be super important to set you up for a successful marriage. Anything to add?
Yeah, I think you made a really good point about the fact that the love is not always going to feel the same in every single stage of the relationship. And that sort of like, extreme passion, intense, exciting feeling that you have in the beginning, that's not going to last forever. It's going to change. And so while I think that there is something to you've met someone and you've fallen in love with them and you want to be with them, there's nothing wrong with that. But make sure you're falling in love with the right person. It's quite heartbreaking.
Yeah. So I think one last question I have just for this segment is, how can you tell the difference between he's not perfect and he's not for me?
Ooh.
Don't ignore the red flags, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Right? If you see a red flag, I like to keep a list. I think you should keep a list of the things that you're noticing about the person that you're thinking about getting married to.
Yeah.
Like, good and bad, right? You should be making a list of, I love when this person does this, or he's caring, he's loving, he's this, he's that, right? But also, like, he never shows up anywhere on time, and he doesn't care about, being on time. That's not the thing he likes, right? And he smacks his lips when he's eating, right? Some of these things are character flaws, and some of these things are bad habits.
Sure.
And you have to figure out what is a bad habit that could potentially change if they want to change it for you, and what's a character flaw, right? And those character flaws can be red flags and let you know whether or not that's something you want to live with for the rest of your life. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, I think there's, as you alluded to, there's certainly a difference between someone being a perpetual liar, for example, and somebody who smacks their lips.
Honestly, I can't stand someone smacking their lips. It's so disgusting.
Is that your non-negotiable?
It's not my non-negotiable, but God, oh Lord. I mean, I don't know. It depends on how bad it is. I might just say no.
Okay.
Like, it depends on how bad it is.
Yeah.
I think I would really have to really love that person or I mean, we can work on it. You know what I mean? Like, we can go to some finishing school and we can figure it out, right? We can figure it out, but it might just be a non-negotiable for me because I hate the sound.
To each their own.
Yeah.
To each their own. And that points out, like, there's certainly elements that we can work on together, and certain things that, like, we have to come to an acceptance or an understanding if this is a character flaw. Are you okay with somebody having some sort of character flaw? And what I mean by that is, for example, someone with like a quick temper. Is that something that you have to realize, like, this person may not be able to change that, as much as I would love for them to work on it and maybe go to therapy, that am I okay being in a marriage with somebody who has a quick temper?
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing. I think ultimately we all know no one is perfect, obviously, even though...
Well, I'm perfect.
Even though you're perfect,
Right.
Most of us are not.
Right.
Right. And so I think obviously we can't go into a relationship with the expectation that our partner is going to be perfect. But what are those red flags that we have to understand when we're getting into a relationship, that those red flags may not be things that are changeable, especially if the person's not willing to work on it.
Yeah. And I would even say, like, you should not expect anyone to change.
No.
Right? Like, there are certain habits that, like, people can work on, like, he doesn't put the toilet seat down, or he never picks up his socks. Like, those are things that you can work on, right?
Yeah.
But there are certain characteristics that just won't ever change, and there are certain things about a person that will never change.
Yeah.
And when you look at that person, You have to be able to say, I don't want anything to change and I will be okay with that in 15 years. Yeah.
I think you got a really good point, which is that you can't go into a marriage expecting that somebody is going to change. Yeah. Wouldn't it be wonderful if he could change his habits in terms of not leaving his socks on the floor and leaving the sink with little tiny beard trimmings?
Oh my God.
That would be great, but he might not. He might not.
Right.
And so we're going into this marriage accepting and knowing who this person is, and if that person is doing things that are really violating to your non-negotiables, or obviously just to you as a person, then like I don't think that's the right marriage for you, girl.
Yeah. And I would just to end, don't marry potential. Like, potential doesn't change. Right? We all have an amount of potential, but whether or not that potential is realized is a different story, right?
Sure.
So I think we should move on, right? We should move on to our listener letter section.
Let's do it to it.
Let's do it. Okay. So we have a listener letter from an anonymous person. And if you want to send in your listener letters and have it be read aloud, and we will take out any identifying information and read it as anonymously as we can, you can send an email to girlprayonitpod@gmail.com. That's girlprayonitpod@gmail.com. And maybe we will read your letter aloud.
Just maybe.
Maybe. All right. So, Assalamu alaikum. I'm seeking sincere advice about a unique and complicated situation I found myself in. I've been interacting with someone who is non-Muslim, raised Catholic, but not very religious. In a very short time, we've developed a deep and emotional connection through hours of meaningful conversations and effective communication. When recognizing the impracticality of our situation, we tried to decide to pause whatever was happening between us and create some distance. However, instead of drifting apart, we found ourselves growing closer, with even stronger feelings developing on both sides. He has always been respectful of my boundaries, but I'm becoming more hesitant to spend time around him because of the temptations and my desire to follow Allah's guidance as best I can. I've been very clear with him that my ultimate goal is marriage and that my faith and lifestyle are non-negotiable. To his credit, he is taking this seriously and has expressed a willingness to learn about Islam. He is open to connecting with a sheikh through me to gain a deeper understanding of the deen and make an informed decision about whether he can align with my values. Here's where I feel conflicted. Does this whole situation seem impractical? Is what we're experiencing just infatuation that might fade once the initial emotions and desires settle? Second, will our cultural differences, Pakistani and Mexican, and the challenges of navigating such a unique relationship create insurmountable barriers in the future? 3, is this connection something meaningful and worth exploring? Or could it be a trap from Shaitan, leading me away from the straight path? Finally, how much weight should I give to the inevitable doubts and judgments from family and friends, and how might those influence our feelings? He believes that this isn't just a passing fling and feels a strong sense of meaning and purpose in our connection. I too feel a sense of peace when we're together, but I want to make the best decision for my faith and future. I value your honest perspective. So that was a lot, right? That was a lot.
Yeah.
Let's start with the first question. Does this whole situation seem impractical?
I don't think anything's impossible. Certainly, I know plenty of people who have their love stories have started out this way. A family member, actually, of mine. I don't think anything is insurmountable. But what are you willing to risk? I think this is hitting on a lot of the topics that we just talked about. What are your non-negotiables? And I think one thing I took away from the story is she was saying that she had set boundaries with him and that she had told him what her non-negotiables were, but she ended up sort of reneging on those boundaries. And I think that is sort of part of this predicament, which is because she reneged on those boundaries, they fell more and more into each other. And now it's going to be really hard to get out of it. She has feelings for him. she's kind of falling in love with him,
Yeah.
it's painful.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes back to what we had been talking about of like, it's okay to fall in love, but make sure you're falling in love with the right person.
Right? Yeah. My first, like, my first inclination is to say, okay, connect him with the shake and back off. Stop talking to him for 6 months and see what happens. If he really is into the dean and that's like something that he wants to do, let him. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want him converting just for the sake of the relationship. So take a pause and let him figure out if Islam is something that he wants to enter into. And if in 6 months he's, not figured it out or is not serious about becoming Muslim, then I think you have your answer, right? Like,
Yeah.
but if in 6 months he is willing to convert and he's done the work, he's learned about Islam, he's learning how to pray, he's taken his shahada, then, I think you have a real chance of having something.
Yeah.
But I think at this point, like, you've already kind of pushed the boundaries a little too far. I would say that, having trust and tawakkul in Allah, that whatever will be is what is meant to be, right? So if you stop talking to him for 6 months and you connect him with different, maybe brothers in the community, a sheikh, an imam, or whatever, and he gets the knowledge and he decides that he wants to become Muslim, he will return to you if that's what was meant. And if he doesn't, then you have your answer. And to your question, is what we're experiencing just infatuation that might settle on faith once our initial emotions and desires settle? Yeah, definitely. It's infatuation no matter how you slice it. Even if even if he becomes Muslim, it's still infatuation. But it doesn't mean that, you can't have a healthy and successful marriage if you were to become Muslim and you guys got married, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
I really want you to ask yourself, what is it that I really love about this person? What is it that is drawing me to this person? Because I think that is going to give you a lot of the answers. Are those characteristics things that would make this person a really good person to marry?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would also ask, like, are you asking these questions because you're getting attention from a man? I'm just saying, because I think we as Muslim women are so used to not getting attention from Muslim men
Yes.
that when we kind of go a little crazy. And I think this can happen to anyone who's in such a gender divided, like, religion. We're not a gender divided religion, but, like,
Yeah.
it's not encouraged to
Where
have.
there's boundaries
there's
between the
boundaries.
two genders.
Yes, exactly, right? And so I feel like you have to ask the question, are you just getting attention and that's what you like and you're feeling the butterflies because, like, a guy likes you, or is it because he's the one? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I think you made a really good point, which is that it can be quite exciting when someone is taking interest in you and then somebody is saying, like, I really like you. I really want to make this relationship work. And is there something that's quite exciting about being pursued? Because eventually, once you reach the end, once you reach the finish line and you enter that marriage, that same feeling is not going to be there anymore. And what are you left with? Which is why I think that it's so important for this girl to really ask herself what it is I like about this person, what it is that I like about our conversations. Know what it is that's drawing you to him, because you're saying that religion is the most important thing to you, but now you're engaging in a relationship with someone who's not your same religion. So there's a bit of a disconnect there.
Yeah.
Bit of a disconnect.
Right. And your second question was, what are cultural differences, Pakistani and Mexican, and the challenges of navigating such a unique relationship create insurmountable barriers in the future? Now, I will just say, I don't think, if you know that your family is not going to accept anyone of a different race or ethnicity or tribe, don't bring that man to the house. It's rude. You know what your family is going to say.
Yeah.
Right?
It's rude to him.
It's
you're
rude to
saying.
him. Yes,
Okay.
that's what I meant. Yeah, it's rude to him to even give him a little bit of hope, right? But if you know your family is like opening and welcoming, and that's something that they, with a conversation, they would be okay with.
Yeah.
Like I don't see it being an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You're so right. I think it's obviously going to depend on the people in your life, and it's also going to depend on how persistent you are in making this work. Because I've seen it go one of two ways, right? Somebody's really insistent on this is the person that I want to marry, regardless of cultural background. And the family, eventually gets on board with it.
Mhm.
Or if you're lucky, they're on board with it to begin with, which is what we would hope.
Right.
That,
Islamically, there's no racism in this.
Exactly.
A lot of y'all are still racist.
Yes, that is very true, unfortunately. So I've seen it go that way, and I've seen it go in a way in which everyone gets hurt.
Yeah.
Everyone gets hurt. He's hurt. She's hurt. The parents are hurt.
Yeah.
So I think you have to know them, know the people in your life, and know, how important is it to you to make this thing work?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'll also say, because, he's coming from a Mexican background, a Catholic background, his family might not be welcoming of you. Right?
Also true.
Yeah.
Also
like,
true.
You know what I mean? Like, it could
Yeah.
be a real big issue for him to convert to Islam. And, his family is not supportive of it. They might say, like, we're going to cut you off and we don't want to talk to you. Right? So, like, you also have to be prepared for that to happen. Right?
Exactly.
Depending on if he accepts Islam and that's the road you want to go down. I mean,
Right.
inshallah, both families are, not biased, and they want whatever is best for their kid, but we know that that's not always the reality. So you have to know your family, and, hopefully if he accepts Islam, he has to know what his family is going to say, and then you need to take it from there.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think in general, I've come to be a big believer in the phrase, if he wanted to, he would.
I love that phrase.
Yeah. And it could be for anyone, right? If she wanted to, she could, whatever it might be. And what I mean by that is, if him being with you, if it's important enough for him to be with you, he's going to do what he needs to do to be with you. He's going to look into Islam. He's going to go have a conversation with your parents. He's going to do the things that he needs to do in order to make this relationship work.
Yeah.
And if he's not willing to do those things, he's not right for you.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. And then your third question was, is this connection something meaningful or worth exploring? Or could it be a trap from Shaitan leading me away from the straight path? I honestly believe that your response to the situation is what determines whether or not this is something that's worth exploring, or if this is a test, right? I think your response, right, whether or not, he becomes Muslim and you don't cut the relationship off, I think that's a trap from Shaitan. But if he accepts Islam and you guys go through the proper, procedures and things like that, it could be something meaningful. Allahu alam. Like, we don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that point is what I wanted to bring up, is how could we ever know?
Yeah.
We don't know what kind of test this is, who it's coming from, where it's coming from. We just don't know. And ultimately, if you choose to look at life in terms of your end goal being committed to Islam, then you're realizing that this is a test. And how am I going to approach this test? Am I going to continue having this relationship with this person, even if it doesn't go anywhere? Or am I committed to my religion, my values, my purpose? And, am I going to work with this person to achieve those goals?
Yeah. So the last question is asking, finally, how much weight should I give to the inevitable doubts and judgment from family and friends, and how might those influence our feelings? So it sounds like, to me, you already know what your family is going to say.
Shoot.
Yeah. it sounds like to me that you already know
Yeah.
that there's going to be some judgment. So you
Yeah.
really need to ask yourself, are you willing to brave whatever storm is coming?
Right.
And is it right to bring in a fresh new baby Muslim into that storm? Questions to consider.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Know your people.
Yeah.
Know your people. And, you know, even if you know that they are kind of judgmental, if it's important enough to you to make it work with this person, I think you're going to have to kind of not let that get under your skin.
Yeah, definitely. Well, inshallah, it all works out, and we hope that you'll send us an update if you're listening out there, and we get an update on what happened.
Yes, I would love to see this end
Yeah.
where he converts to Islam.
Yeah.
And they have the same goals out of life, and then they end up married.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm just a hopeless romantic.
And I want to know because I'm nosy.
Okay.
So this is the part of the podcast where Ayesha rants. I rant. I rant at the camera, and I talk about things I don't like and things I'm mad at that week, or that day, that month, I don't know. But today I'm mad at the fact that we still in America have people calling us Muslims. Are you joking? It's an S. The S is in the word, and people still say Muslim.
Totally.
Like, I hate it. I hate it. And the fact that we as an ummah have allowed it to go on for so long, it's ridiculous. It's Muslim. Let's all say it together. I used to be a teacher, so like let's sound it out. Muslim. I'm gonna put a little thing here. Muslim. And I want you to do this with your neighborhood YD or whoever's non-Muslim, and I want you to make them say it right, because I'm so tired of hearing it. I don't know if that bothers you, but it bothers me. I'm scrolling on TikTok and they're talking about the Muslim generation, the Muslim. Like, it's just stupid. Why have we not figured this out yet? I feel like we should have figured this out. And it's not that hard. It's really not that hard.
I think it's a little bit of, you know, Muslims trying to assimilate kind of and kind of go
assimilate to
that.
What? It's an Arabic word.
Yes. Assimilate to the way in which the Western world refers to us and sort of go with it, right? Why are we still referring to things as mosques? They're not mosques.
I know.
That's the masjid.
Yeah, yes.
It's a masjid.
Right. I know. I know when I'm looking at like masjids near me, I don't put in masjid into like the map. I put in mosque. And it pains me to do it every single time. It's like I'm giving away a little bit of my Islam every time I type in mosque. It's very sad. And then I'll even correct myself talking to like non-Muslims, and I'll be like, yeah, and on Fridays we go to the mosque.
Right.
The mosque. I don't know where we can, like, they're already saying, the non-Muslims, this is what I'm talking about. The non-Muslims are already saying inshallah. They're already saying alhamdulillah. Like, the lingo is already out there, but we still have people calling it the mosque, saying Muslim. So if we've already let them in, we haven't gate kept enough. Like, the gate is open. We might as well bring them all the way in and tell them it's Muslim and it's masjid. They can get it.
Totally.
Right?
And I would like to add that halal truck.
Halal truck.
It's not just a halal truck. When we were at school together, right, there was a lot of halal meat trucks stationed around campus.
Yeah.
And I'd be, you know, hanging out with, you know, whoever it was in class who was not Muslim. They'd be like, we're going to get halal. Want to come? And I knew that they were talking about the halal trucks.
You're trying to go get chicken and rice, my dude.
Exactly. It's chicken and rice,
Meat
and
is
the meat
halal.
is halal.
Right.
And they didn't know, and I had to correct them
Yeah.
and explain to them, like, do you know what it means when it's saying that it's a halal truck?
Right.
And they're like, yeah, the food. It's a halal food.
That's
like,
because they're so lazy. They don't even want to know, like, what it really, like, fruit is halal. Water is halal, right? And they're like, we're going to go do some halal food. No, you're going to get chicken over rice. That's what you're getting. and the halal is the meat and the way it was processed. And I'm just so like, I just don't like it because clearly all these people, you have Drake talking about inshallah in his songs, and we've let them come into our culture, but we've missed the real like foundational parts of our culture and our language. Like we really missed the mark. And I need you guys to get out there and start correcting these non-Muslims. You see how I said this? S, Muslims. Okay. It's Muslim, right? It's masjid, okay? It's chicken over rice, and the meat is halal. That's what it is.
You said it.
Yeah, that's
you
what I
said it. That's
Ayesha
what you said.
Out. Yeah. That concludes our first episode of Girl Planet.
We did it.
We did do it.
Did the thing.
We did the thing, and inshallah, the video quality and the audio quality sounds good. We've had a lot of trouble trying to figure this stuff out.
We did, so bear with us.
Yeah.
Okay, we are good at certain things.
Yeah.
And not as good at other things.
I'm great at talking. I'm great at...
She's great at ranting.
I'm great at ranting, right?
Yes.
Well, we are not great at technology.
No.
So we're hoping that as we evolve, things will get better, sound quality will get better,
Right.
video quality will get better.
Right.
And we hope that you will stick with us on the journey and listen in into our next podcast episode.
For sure.
For sure.
We'll see you next time, inshallah.
Inshallah. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Girl Pray On It podcast. We hope today's conversation gave you something to reflect on. Be sure to follow us on both Instagram and TikTok at Girl Pray On It Pod, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Girl Pray On It Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you listen, so you'll always be up to date with our newest episodes. Stay connected, stay encouraged, and as always, Girl Pray On It.